All right, so we are on the Get Started page and welcome into the program. All right, so it's going to seem like, whoa, it's a lot going on here. So I want to break it all down for you to make this as seamless as possible and make sure you understand what you're working toward, okay? So right here in the Get Started page is step one, making sure that you know the size of your diastasis. If you're a one-on-one client, I'm going to figure this out for you, but if you are not, then this is where you want to start, knowing the size of your diastasis as well as how to find your rib cage angle. So you're going to be marking on yourself here, okay? This is printable instructions for you to figure out the size of your diastasis. And once we get into the self-guided assessment, there's a place for you to actually record it so that you can keep a copy of it too. But otherwise, you will be submitting that into your intake form. Here if you're one-on-one client, and here if you're a group client. All right, these are just examples of the pictures you need to submit both on intake, reassessment, and when you finish the program. Just a front shot, side shot, and then here. One shot on laying on your back and a direct shot of your tummy. All right, so you don't have to do this whole measurement, just giving you an example here, right? So don't get freaked out by that. You're just going to have those markings on from when you colored or outlined your rib cage, and you're going to submit that. So you can always come back here to the Get Started page at reassessment time to do either as a one-on-one client, reassessing and filling out your information here, or as a group client, reassessing and filling it out here. And you want to edit that form. You don't have to start a new form, just simply edit the one that you had before. All right, then the next most important stuff is making sure you do that self-guided assessment. If you are a one-on-one client, I will be assessing you myself. Otherwise, this is the assessment that you will be doing here. So let's take a quick look at this guide that you'll be printed out here. All right, so this is what you're going to be following along with as you watch the video on how to assess yourself. The way that this works, it is color-coded and it's broken up by your posture, looking at your breathing, looking for any muscle imbalances that you have. And the muscle imbalances are basically just tight muscles that just need to be released in order to help you breathe better, in order to help stabilize your core and maybe your hips better, to assess if you have any pelvic floor weakness, things like that. And it's all color-coded for the purpose of you being able to come down to the bottom here and finding the different exercises that you need to work on all throughout the program, okay? So let's go back up to here. So as you're watching the video and I'm going through posture, you may circle wide rib cage and you have an anterior pelvic tilt. And then you are a belly breather, all right? You're gonna circle a few more things, I guarantee you that. But the main thing there is to know that once you circle those things, you're gonna have to come towards the bottom here and figure out the things that you're going to work on, okay? So if you in the blue section said that I am a belly breather, well, we know that you need to work on diaphragmatic breathing, okay? So that is going to be one of the things that you work on. Now, what these basically are, they're broken up into different pages on the actual website, which I'll be showing you in just a bit. Okay, and this will make all of this make more sense, so don't let this overwhelm you. All right, so if you are a belly breather, then you want to work on diaphragmatic breathing. You may need to work on expanding your back, and the way you know that is that you're probably a chest breather. Either way, if you're not diaphragmatic breathing, these are going to be the main things that you work on, but all of these things are in phase one. So even if you don't know, should I work on them? I'm almost going to guarantee you are. So you might as well circle them because you're going to work on them anyway, okay? Otherwise, you're going to understand that you need to learn how to engage your transverse abdominis. So if you're trying to engage, you like, all I'm doing is a bunch of gripping, or I can't even get these muscles to move. So you're going to want to work on all of those, right? But again, all of those are in phase one, so you're going to work on them anyway. The main thing you want to know is if you circled that you had a tight quadratus lumborum, or you had a tight pec muscle, or whatever the case may be, this is where you're going to find the different exercises to release those. So there you are, release your tight quadratus lumborum. You said up top that you have tight pecs, right? That's here. Go down to the bottom. Well, here you go. How to release tight pecs, tight lat. So it's all broken down based off of the things that you circled up top. These are the things you want to work on below. So if you have an anterior pelvic tilt, it's going to behoove you to try to get these exercises in that 90-90 breathing, because it's going to help correct that pelvic tilt. So this is a whole series versus this is just one exercise. You can try to see if it helps with that anterior pelvic tilt. And you just kind of go from there. Now, do you have to do all these things at once? Absolutely not. That's the whole point of the program, is that it's broken up into 3 phases. So a lot of these things you'll be incorporating. Now, when you look in the instructions for phase 1, it will say to spend about 10 to 15 minutes on the breathing, the stretching, the cupping, all that stuff. That's going to be the things that you circle down here. So if you circle that you have tight pecs, you have a tight quadratus lumborum, and that you have an anterior pelvic tilt. So to improve the anterior pelvic tilt, we're going to have to release a tight quadratus lumborum. So really just want to spend about 10 minutes doing any cupping, any stretching to these muscles that may be impacting your posture or maybe impacting your breathing, but understanding that your main goal is to improve those things. So you want to spend your time doing the things that's going to help you achieve your goals. So once we go and look into the phase 1, all of this will make so much more sense. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so in order to find phase 1, you're just going to go to this diastasis recti repair and go down to phase 1. Also note right above that is a section where you can find exercises that you'll be doing all throughout phase 1 through 3. And that's basically going to be your total body strengthening workouts and your low impact cardio. So those are ones that you can do all throughout the program. All right, so you have your low impact cardio here and your total body strengthening here. Just a light pair of weights, maybe between 5 and 8 pounds is great. If you don't have any weights, that's totally fine. Or you can use bands. Then you also have your low impact cardio. If you start to feel a little bit of tightness and new muscles working and some soreness, get those stretches in. These are all just a bit general stretching versus the other pages where it's more separated by your upper and lower body parts. But if you just want a good stretch and mobility, that's where you can find these here, and you can do those at any time. All right, so now let's look into phase 1. So it's broken down into 3 weeks, this phase is. So let's go into week 1. All right, so all throughout phase 1, our main goals is going to be to improve your breathing, okay? Teach you how to feel and engage those deep core muscles working. And that's why you're here. A lot of times, most people don't even know what their deep core muscles feel like. So that's what we're going to learn and teach our mind and our body to start connecting to those muscles. And then the other part is releasing any tight muscles and improving rib cage mobility that may be hindering basically your breathing. And we want to make that better and connect with your deep core muscles better. All right, so all of your exercises can be found between the posture fix page, the muscle engagement and breathing page, and then phase 1. All right, and again, going back to the assessment that you did or the assessment you will have if you're a one-on-one client, that's where you're going to find out what are the things that I personally need to work on. And that's what you want to keep in mind as you're doing this, is because everybody's going to be different. So what you're doing may be a little bit different from someone else. All right, so week 1 healing tips. Read these tips and incorporate them, okay? Otherwise, it may feel a little bit overwhelming. One of my main tips I'm giving here is to start with just 10 minutes of like your breathing to help stretch out everything, to get your body loose. So maybe you do that in the morning when you take a shower. If you're doing some cupping, you can keep your cups in the shower and just do 10 minutes to those tight back muscles. Do some good stretching in the morning. That's your 10 minutes. You may not do your 20 to 30 minutes to later that day, but if just starting your day by getting that area to open up, that's going to be great for you. Your goal there is daily. At minimum, try to shoot for 5 days if you don't have enough time to do it daily. All right, then the remainder of your time is going to be 20 to 30 minutes working on the exercises below. All right, so example again, we 10 minutes of breathing, cupping, whatever the case may be, and then your additional 20 to 30 minutes of working on muscle engagement, getting those muscles to fire, all that type of stuff. All right, so let's take a look at those exercises. Oh, one thing I want to mention is use the calendar and use the checkoff list, because that again is going to guide you through the different weeks to let you know what is both coming, where you can find other things, because even though it's broken up into weeks, just to make it more doable and not overwhelming, you can skip between the different weeks. So if you need something from week 2, just look on the checkoff list and see what's in week 2 versus week 3, and that may be the better exercise for you. Than laying on your back or being on your side, that type of thing. All right, so everyone, no matter who you are, is going to start with this diaphragmatic breathing. We have to teach our body to how to use our diaphragm, use the core muscles that we need in order to heal your diastasis. So everyone is going to start here. Once you work on diaphragmatic breathing and you see, wow, I'm really not using my diaphragm, I'm using my belly a whole lot, or I'm breathing in my chest a whole lot, then that's the purpose of these other exercises right below it. Then you want to see, okay, how do I do when I do it on my side? Do I feel my rib cage moving? If I don't, then I need to work on some rib cage mobility to get this area moving so that as I breathe, it can expand and get the breath in there versus up in my chest and down in my tummy. Same thing with being over the ball here or the back expansion videos. I show you 3 different ways in which you can improve the back expansion. So that's going to be getting that air when we're working for 360 degrees, getting that air in the back of your rib cage. So if you're not getting air back there, you're always like popping up off the floor. If you're trying to engage your, trying to breathe and to get that 360 degree breathing, or you just don't feel it back there, that's going to really help. And like I said earlier, if you have a large arch in your back or you have a high hinge point, this is a definite exercise you want to do. So that, again, going to those 15 to 20, 30 minutes, whatever you can put towards your exercises, these are the things you're going to work on if that's what you need to work on. All right. And then lastly is just learning how to engage your lower, middle, and upper transverse abdominis muscle. And you're going to practice that in sitting. So what you may notice is that right from the beginning, you're going to be on your back. You're going to be on your side. You're going to be sitting. You want to pay attention to which one of those positions I get the better breathing or engagement out of, because then from there, you will build on top of that. So if sitting works best for you, you don't get upper ab gripping, I can actually feel my muscles working, great. Go with that. You don't have to do every position. Or if you do it in side lying, maybe you purpose that to do just for breathing, maybe not so much for engagement, and that may serve its purpose. So it's all in what you need to achieve, again, the goals that we're focusing on, which is better breathing, better muscle engagement, and then releasing those tight muscles. All right, so let's take a look at week 2. All right, so for week 2, what are our tips that we're working towards? Basically the same thing. Continue to work on that cupping, stretching, whatever you need to work on to continue to open up that rib cage. Thinking this is physiological change that you're trying to make to your body. This takes daily showing up and doing that, all right? You can't do it once or twice a week and expect to see change. You want to continually do that. So that's the purpose of that. You're going to continue any week 1 exercises that were working for you, right? So if you were struggling on your back, but you're like, wow, I did really good at engaging in the chair, then continue to do that. But you may need to lay on your side to improve the rib cage mobility. But if you're just laying on your back's not getting it, that's okay. So you will notice more back exercises here. For those who may not have had so much trouble on their back, they can continue with the 90-90 breathing. And if you have an anterior pelvic tilt and your back seemed to be arched off the floor when I gave you feedback, then this one's going to be a great one for you, because now you can add a posterior pelvic tilt. So essentially it's the same exercise, but now you're just tilting a little bit to help you engage that lower TA area. You can always, and that's another thing, you may have struggled week 1 with something, you may get better with it week 2. So give it a try, give it a couple of days. And if it's just not working and doing sitting and standing is, then go for it. So here you go with this one. Instead of being just the middle, upper and lower, this one's focusing on just the lower. And this is especially for those who have that lower belly pooch, probably were belly breathers. You really want to make sure you're practicing this on the 2nd week. All right, and then you get to a follow along exercise. And now this is my recommendation for here. If you're really, really struggling with engaging, if you're really, really struggling with breathing, don't try to jump right into the exercises. Try working on improving the breathing and engagement. And then once you add on the actual exercises, that's going to be a lot more effective. So that's one thing that I definitely want to emphasize, and where a lot of people go wrong in their healing is that they want to jump right into a full workout, full exercises with not really having a good grasp on the breathing. That doesn't mean you have to stay at the breathing forever, because we shouldn't. All right, as long as you're making some progress, awesome. Now let's try adding a little leg lift to it, doing a little bit of a heel slide, adding a bridge. But if that's just too much for your brain, no worries, you can come back to this as you need to. Again, you can print off what exercises are in there and then go from there. All right, and then lastly, on week 3 of this first phase, let's go to that. Now we're actually starting to build on a little bit more with the breathing. Now you're going to learn how to breathe under a brace. Once again, if you haven't quite learned how to get the breathing, this is not something you have to do if you're not quite there yet, but the option is there. If you're getting good muscle engagement, you're doing pretty good with the breathing. Now let's learn how to brace that and start to load a little bit more, which is what we'll begin to do in phase 2. Okay, so if you're not quite there when we get to week 3, do not be alarmed, do not be overwhelmed. Some people, it takes them a good 2 to 3 weeks just to get the breathing down, and that's okay. You have access to this program for a year. Take your time. Quality of what you're doing over the quantity. We don't want to just add on, and we're still really struggling to get the right muscles to fire, because once you start loading, you're going to be loading the wrong muscles, or not the muscles that you're trying to aim to strengthen and improve. You're going to just strengthen up muscles that's already strong. Okay, so definitely take the value in that. So here we're learning how to engage, continue to engage that lower, middle, and upper, and how to better engage the lower there. And then now we are loading, which is so fun, but we got to get that breathing done, right? And then you have that level 1 strengthening. And if you're ready to add on a ball, the option is there. So keeping in mind what I said from the beginning is that some people may be ready to go on to week 2 and week 3, and others may say, I need to spend more time in week 2 or week 1, and that's totally okay. So let's try to make it full circle here, okay? So keep in mind, as we went on to look at the self-assessment page, there was a posture fix page and a proper breathing and muscle engagement page. So let's see the proper breathing and muscle engagement fix page. And you will notice some of the same videos that I showed earlier are also on this page. So don't let the number of exercises or videos that you see overwhelm you, okay? So as you see here, how to perform diaphragmatic breathing. If that's something you struggle with, here are those 2 videos again, right? So not so many videos as much as it seemed like before. How to increase myofascial mobility. There's that cupping that I was talking about. So if you need to spend 10 minutes of cupping, learn how to do it, and then you don't really have to watch the video anymore, right? And then increasing rib cage mobility. If you're just not getting enough mobility in that rib cage, then these are the exercises you want to do. And then as we get to phase 2 and we start learning how to now incorporate the breathing that we learned in phase 1 into our exercise, this is where you can learn how to do that. If you need to release tight muscles from the things that you circle in your self-assessment, here are the videos that you can do. You do not have to do all 4 videos, right? These are options, and you may just have some time to look at all of them and see. But if you're like, no, I just circled the QL, then that's all you watch and that's all you do, okay? And here are all the engagement videos all in one place if you ever need to reference them. And if you struggle with upper ab gripping, this is a great video to try to see if you can get those upper abs to grip less, all right? And that's pretty much it. Same thing with the posture fix video. It's not video, but posture fix page is that you're just going to basically do on that page things that either I showed you on your one-on-one consultation, or you're going to do the things that you circle that were yellow on the page, okay? Now, there may be some things that you circle that could kind of take the later route, meaning you don't have to give priority to it. It's all in what the things that we're working on in the phase is what you want to give priority to. So your basic posture, that's all the time. You want to give priority to that. Otherwise, so like tight pecs. So tight pecs is your chest muscle. If you deal with a whole lot of being 4, that will make that big. That would be a priority for you. But if it's not a really big deal, you don't have to spend your whole 10 minutes rolling out your pecs, okay? But if it's something that we see that's impacting you, let's do it. I would probably guide you to that. But that tight QL, that back muscle, oh man, if you have not really great posture, or you really have that big arch in your back, this is something we want to give priority to. So that's how you want to basically do that. If you're a breastfeeding mom and you know that, okay, I'm just so tight, I just really would love some stretches to do in addition to, that's the purpose of that. But of course, breastfeeding stretches are not really that big on healing your DR, but I do have them there because I know I have so many moms who are nursing, and it may help you. If you are correcting your anterior pelvic tilt, then that 90-90 breathing is going to be really, really important in helping you improve that pelvic tilt. So again, that's that large arch in your back. you want to be doing these exercises, but no, these same exercises are already in phase 1, so you don't have to do them both there and there. Just know that they're all here. And so if you're just like, I need to improve my anterior pelvic tilt, well, how do I do that? These are the exact videos that you need to follow. For those who have a rib flare, this is your rib flare correction exercises, and you'll see that a little bit more in phase 2, and then we go on and on from there. All right, so hopefully this gives you a little bit more understanding of how to navigate through the different pages that are there. This last page is a how to fix and progress, and you'll learn how to do that more if you are dealing with pelvic floor issues, especially the tight pelvic floor. This is the page that you want to be visiting to help release that tight pelvic floor. And if you're working with a weak pelvic floor, then a lot of what we're doing throughout the phases are more so in there. And that's going to be learning how to engage that muscle and lift that muscle, which you'll hear me say a lot throughout the program. So you don't necessarily need that so much here is if you have a hypertonic or a tight pelvic floor. If you are early postpartum mom, I would guide you to be there. And if you need that nutrition guidance, that's where you're going to find that at the very bottom of this list here. So let's just take a quick glance at that, and then we'll wrap everything up. All right, so nutrition, you'll notice this is the same video that was on the Get Started page, as well as the MyFitnessPal. So all of this is already something you've seen before, but you can see it all on one page. If you are having trouble with, I don't really have the time to, or I can't really find the consistency behind logging my meals, but I know that I can at least measure my food and have good portion sizes. That is better than nothing, and it's actually very effective. So take a little screenshot of this, and whenever you're going out or you're fixing your plate at home, try to shoot for getting the amount of the actual protein and starches and carbs and things like that in your diet. Water is going to always be very important in that, reducing the bloating and things like that. So going back to that nutrition guide, print that out, and then start incorporating those things there. Then lastly, as we get into phase 2, you're going to do the same premises as before. You're going to continue to work on things in phase 1 if you need to. And when you're ready to build on the things in phase 2, you build on top of that. And then you move on to phase 3 and build on top of that. And as you notice, we start from the foundation and we build on top. So don't feel the need to rush through phase 1 because that's your foundation. And if you start with a strong foundation, you're going to find yourself a whole lot more successful than just trying to jump through the program or do what everybody else is doing. You have to do what is right for your body. All right, so that's pretty much it. Otherwise, you're just going to be inside the Facebook group, and that's where the magic happens. That's where you can ask any questions that you have. You can ask and also check in. That's going to be the best part, is being able to check in and turn in your videos, which is going to be your feedback videos on all the things that you're working on inside the program. All of that will make more sense inside the Facebook group. But again, don't let it overwhelm you. If you have any questions, just let me know.